Councilor Bragdon. Chair Danforth. Councilor Dume.
I can't hear you, Doug, but I'm present via Zoom.
Thank you. Councilor Mackin,
He couldn't hear us?
No, I could not hear.
can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, Ken.
Okay, you are present. Councilor Mackin. Councilor McClellan. And Councilor Pelletier.
Here.
There are no adjustments to the agenda, so I will take approval of the minutes January 9th, 25 regular. Motion made by Councilor Dume, seconded by Councilor Pelletier. Any council comments on the meeting minutes? I will suggest one edit to the special meeting and executive session. Replace Chair Mador's name with Chair Danforth, please.
Thank you. That edit's been made and on file.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor of accepting approval of the minutes for January 9th, we're going to have to do a roll call because we have a counselor on Zoom. Councilor Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Mackin.
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier.
Aye.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Aye.
And Councilor Dume.
Aye.
And Chair Danforth, aye. Motion passes 6-0. We are at the special presentation. John Raymond, you come to the podium. Northern Timber Cruisers, you're a club president. You have a trail update for us.
Thank you. Meeting. I think John, letting you know this. Well, I can't, I'm sure resident. Thank you. Town council, I say council, but that is project. A bunch of different people sitting up here. But the good thing is, over the years, the council's always supported. So, little chocolate stuff that I went down through. And I'm gonna bring you up to date on. I want to thank all the people who wrote letters for the project. The bridge road project totaling over $500 million grant that we applied. Done. That Gambell Bridge on Route 11. The bridge had what is going on. We had the Century Bridge up there, project. So, they don't have to turn around for projects. And the good part about both these projects is we're able, by putting these bridges in, we're able to get off the water. Not use the Toby trailer anymore. Go forward, go around. So, good. I also want to thank both Senator Collins, Senator King, and the Fox County. They worked very diligently. Senator King found out that additional land, they actually have an active state. Most things probably going to be in addition to the monument, but I'm about to do it. It actually shut off our active center on through. And we have him and that trail for duty, so work on 9 years taken to hold these bridges done. Trail Trail East Market, it opened on September 7th. Labor Day weekend. Call it Common East, because Common West goes west, boys, Common goes on a paint trail. So, do a project on it. And, since opening, over the years, I was able to secure some trail counting. Gives us an idea of what we're getting moving on the trail. And shortly after I opened up the trail, Labor Day weekend, I was able to get one of the counters down on the crossing. And, since opening, we average about 55 wheelers a day. For a total of 5,474 clicks. By the end of the season, our ATV season. We had a very short window that opened in September, and as soon as we shut the trail down, that was the end of it for ATV. And other than 5,470 clicks, the program we got to go break it down by what hours a day they're going through, what days a week over. So just a little information there. Friday, 16% of it was on Friday. Saturday was 20%. Sunday was 11%, and Wednesday was 27% of the week, which totaled about 74% of the traffic days for that trail when it opened. The day that my wife and I went out on Labor Day, still doing a little tweaking of the trail markings and stuff, we came across 63 wheelers that day in the 2.5 to 3 hours we were out there. And I actually believe for the short amount of time, it almost reflected what Water Monument opened up. And I think we did a little bit better than they did for the short amount of time, so that was a plus. Van Campbell Memorial Bridge has been received well, and it keeps us off the lake and water crossing. And our next step is to hold an official opening for both bridges and the trail to the east coming this spring. We're going to dedicate Van Campbell Bridge. I've already talked to the family; they're okay with that, and we're going to get something started there. And we're hoping to do it all in one day, and that way, because we want to get the senators up here and some of the people that are some of the county commissioners and council and everybody. It's going to be a ride. We have to drive to Van Campbell Bridge, but then there'll be a ride down to the bridge and see what we can get going with that. I can't thank enough the Millinocket Town Council, East Millinocket Selectmen, the elected officials, King and Collins, including the county commission, Jack and Power Court. Jack and Power Court were able to put in a letter of support for us to be acquired a $25,000 grant from Yamaha. So, businesses and all of the Katahdin Area Chamber of Commerce supporting and writing letters of support, because it took that to get this work permit that we had to require. Thing about this that I saw is that with so much division that we have today and everything, this really showed that we can all work together, one common goal. And we did it. We did it with East Branch Snowbird. We did it with East Millinocket Selectmen. I went to the Medway Town Selectmen meetings and got support from everybody. Nobody turned us down. So I have one last grant to expend, and that's our signage grant. We required a grant for $10,000. We've already spent half of that, $5,000 of it, in signposts. Because we're putting in a regular street signpost that has a 3.5 foot stuff in the ground, 8 foot top with a breakaway post, but anybody hits it, it just breaks off, don't worry about it. And then the other half will be spent on all new mile marker signs and informational signs. Because we made a promise to Senator King and them that this trail that goes through the Wabanaki land, we're gonna put signage out there that warn people that you can't just go off the trail and go heading up this road or that road. You gotta stay on the trail. So we're gonna put enough signage out there that if you get this far, you gotta turn around and back because you're in the wrong area. We're gonna get all that put in before we do our grand opening. And I want to thank all of you to allow me to update you all. Now we hope that we can enjoy a trail system, and hopefully that the economy it will bring into the region and help struggling businesses. This winter is really tough, winters in a row. Last year, snowmobile registrations were down about 22,000. And it's probably gonna be something similar for this year. We're seeing restaurants go, we're seeing things happening, and snowmobile is a big part of this area. And need to, not looking for the next 2 or 3 weeks too, so probably gonna be another short winter. And that's not good for the area, but ATVing, I can hopefully pick up the slack, and when there's a short snowmobile season, it'll extend the ATV season, so hopefully that's gonna balance out some of it. And lastly, I wanna thank my wife Natalie. And
Most
putting up with all
important.
the meetings, trips to Augusta, and late night meals, coming to meetings here, doing everything.
Yeah.
And without her understanding, I wouldn't have been able to do this all, so. And guys, then, I can't say enough about how town of Millinocket never said no to us. That's big. My board wants to stress that to you guys, that we very appreciative of that. This spring, you'll be getting some more information about when we're gonna have the grand opening and the dedication of the Ben Campbell Bridge. And hopefully it'll be a good day. We keep moving forward. Thank you.
So John, I will just speak first and then I'll let other councils if they want to, but we can't thank you enough. I know you have been at this for years and years and years, and you've seen it through. So thank you. And thank Natalie for supporting you. But I'll turn it over to other councilors if you have comments or questions. We have a quiet bunch there.
Doesn't look like he's starving.
He's
Made it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks, John.
Yeah. So moving right along, we're going to go into public hearing. Can I have Councilman McGowan read ordinance number 1?
Ordinance number 1/2025, providing for an adoption amendment to chapter 5, part 2. Short-term rentals of the code of the town of Illinois. It ordained by the town council. The attached short rental ordinance hereby adopted, chapter 125, part 2, article. No, thank you.
I'm sorry,
Numerals
yeah,
here. Of the Millinocket Code. It is further ordained that the town clerk make appropriate changes to incorporate this chapter into the Millinocket Code. Distribute pages to all persons known to have a copy. Further ordered that this ordinance will take effect 30 days after.
Need a second.
Second.
Motion made by Council McGowan, seconded by Councilor Pelletier. We are now in public hearing. And I'll-
Chair, can I interrupt?
Please.
Good, very good. When folks don't look or speak directly into the microphone, the audio skips off. So like when Madam Chair was speaking, looking up, they say it sounds great. Councilor McGlaughlin, reading, looking down, not working. So please, if you could make an effort to speak directly into those microphones, that would really,
To go like.
well,
Yes,
well,
thank you.
you know, if you want to move them down off the counter, you're welcome to do that too. Just some feedback from the crowd. It's an important topic, so we want to
It
make
is a
sure
very
that
important topic, and I
folks can hear it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So just as a reminder, this is first reading. We are not going into a vote today. We want to hear comments both from the council and the public. I will first ask the manager sort of to bring us up to speed. This has been in process for 3 or 4 years. Want to just give a little brief synopsis of how we got here?
Sure. Well, it started long before I was involved on this side. It first came up for discussion, I believe, when I was the chamber director. So that was almost 5 years ago. The intention at that time was, that I understand was to document contact information for ownership in case of emergencies, to know where they are and who's operating these businesses within town. And then to assure that they are meeting life safety codes. It was passed back and forth through several different committees and back and forth to the council over the years. There had not been a consensus of approval on the content of it at any of those stages. And much of the last year, it has been thoroughly gone through by mainly, our legal representation, our code enforcement and life safety officer, self, fire chief, members of the council. So, we thoroughly believe this checks all of the boxes of the original intent. It actually, goes above and beyond the original intent, but for good reason. Yeah, here we are several years later and hopefully ready to consider this for an adoption.
Thank you, Manager. So I will now look to see if the council has comments, questions on this document. I know we've all looked it over very carefully. Oh, Councilor Higgins.
Yes, Madam Chair, just, can you all hear me? Hello? Yes, I'm here to see that too. Screen's frozen, no sound. I sent a message over to the manager, just so you guys know.
We'll see if we can get him back. I'm sure he would like to hear public comment as well. Informed.
I can hear you, Jane.
Okay.
I just can't see anything. Now I can see you.
Very good. So you're back. So maybe you want to speak now while you're back. And we have
Okay.
you.
So looking down through the ordinance on subsection 125-136 B 1A, a non-refundable license fee equals $100 for each short-term rental unit. I'd like to recommend that we change that.
What is your suggestion?
I suggest the first time fee, probably 200, 250, and then dropping it down on the renewals to give them an incentive to renew.
I didn't hear the second part of that, then dropping it down for renewal.
Yep, to give them an incentive to renewal. And to stay licensed.
$100 for the renewal.
Two-
What?
200 for the renewal,
100.
100, I'm sorry. 250 for the initial license and then 100 for the renewal period.
Yes, ma'am.
Year after that. Is there anything else that you would like us to consider?
That's all that I saw at this point.
Okay.
I'm open to hearing from the public as well.
Any other counselors before I go to the public? Counselor Pelletier?
Can you turn your mic on, Louis? Oh, okay.
Hello?
Testing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Alrighty then, just to complete his suggestion, section 125, 136, like the license renewal transferability.
Can you tell us what page you're on?
The licensing and expiration transferability is on 7. Renewal being the one I'm looking for here. Dates on number 2A, renewal application. Subsection 1 there says a fee as provided in section 4B. And we should state it if it's going to be different as $100.
Yes, so that it coincides with the change in the other section, yes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I
Go
know
ahead,
I know there's gonna be some questions as far as why raising it up. And it's the initial one as far as raising it and then dropping it for the renewal. But I've utilized a lot of Airbnbs as I've been on the road working and everything, and not knowing what we're paying here in town for a night in an Airbnb. I think 250 for a year, for a whole year, is reasonable. Just for the initial startup, due to all the legwork and footwork that has to be done.
I have a comment.
thank you for your suggestion or and your explanation. Yes.
Thank
We're
you.
still at we're still at the council level. Any other counselors want to speak before we go to the public? Go ahead, Councilor Dume.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a couple of questions, clarifying questions, and then I have, comment, structure. Then of course, I would like to have public input, or the right to say something like that. So I see that let me get the section of it. On page 7. Top, a very large paragraph. section number 5, I guess. Unit cap on certain short-term rentals.
Okay.
So my question would be, pertaining to the sentence that says, the number of short-term rental units in the building shall not exceed 50% of the total number of dwelling units within such a building. So in short, if there's 8 possible rentals in that building, they could only rent 4. Is that like a main statute, or is that, where does that?
Tom, would
Miss-
you mind speaking to that if you have the answer?
Malcolm, 73, School Street, code enforcement officer. That, Jesse, is because of, to read that whole section, it's apartment buildings, 3 or 4 family dwellings, that's why. Because of fire safety, or that's where you come in, being able to do 50% of that. If not, we'd get in, but it would have to sprinkle the building.
So if somebody had a building with 8 rentals that were completely designed for short-term rentals, then they could still only use 50% of that?
It could only,
And where does that come?
that comes.
That's a statute.
That's a statute.
Thank you. That was my question. Because that's something that we just arbitrarily came up with, or did you? My next is section 125-137, their license denial. That'd be on page 9. I know that the code enforcement is the person that does the investigations, sets the violations, license suspension or revocation. My question is, who is the reviewing authority that may deny the application? The sentence starts out, the reviewing authority may deny the application. Who is that reviewing authority?
There's no authority.
Still the code enforcement officer?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That definition is on page 2. Yeah, review and authority.
Gotcha. Thank you. Noticing. Third, along the same lines is, what's the process? So if somebody's denied or found in violation that has an existing license to do so, is that like you enforce that? Is that like go to court or something? Is that how that's handled?
It would,
All claims court or something?
it would eventually, if we could not work it out, if we could not work it out, or if they kept renting it after, couldn't. The only time that you really shut it down would be if they had a life safety violation. You would give them 24 hours to repair that. If they did not, then you shut it down. If it's another violation, you would work with you, try to get the matter taken care of. And then if it didn't get taken care of, then
So code enforcement is the reviewing authority, code enforcement is the enforcement of it, and you can also shut it down. Oh,
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I have on that particular section. When it comes to the fee structure, when I asked the question of the purpose of the fee structure, I was told the answer was to recoup some of the costs it takes to form these duties. I'm paraphrasing that adequate statement. I
Yeah.
think you were the manager.
that was my guess. That was my interpretation. Yeah.
Which I understand and I appreciate that. In my line of work, I meet many different people, of course, especially in the home improvement area. So contrary to popular belief, I don't know everything, so I ask a lot of questions. Some of the concerns of the property owners that are either considering Airbnb, say, short-term rentals. So I'm reflecting some of these questions that I'm hearing. Of course, with the investments that are made to buildings, structures that's already in place, with all of the things that business owners bring to the community, some would feel that investment and like dilapidated buildings or buildings that aren't currently livable or buildings that have a low valuation. So these improvements would bring up these valuations, tax base, also spending money in our local establishments to do these improvements. Some would feel like those increases to the tax base would also be compensation to instead of construction. Of course, they're looking. So, with all that being said, I don't know if I would have to look and hear from the public on how they would feel on that fee structure. Because that's another thing, if they're making all these improvements and if they're coming to you for permits already to do those improvements, then we're already dipping into the fees. So how much do we want to fee people? So, I mean, I know there's a balance that has to be maintained. Myself, counselor, my original concern when it comes to short-term rentals, we won't be able to know this until you guys build a database. I encourage you, and I think you're on the way to doing, which is a great thing. It's probably going to take a year and a half to establish those baselines. Was my concern was for the long-term housing rental unit for a lower income housing market. So that was my major concern when it short-term rentals versus long-term, because we all know that Millinocket very low long-term rental. Getting any better. So other than new structures coming in, that would clearly solve a problem. All we have is fix up our older structure, which we have people that invest all the time, older buildings. I'm willing to hear what the public has to say on the fee structure before I actually decide.
Thank you, Councilor. Would you like to respond to that? Yes, Mr. Mueller?
Yeah, I would like to provide some clarity on a couple of those points. Because it's so much more fresh in my memory, the comparison between short-term rental and long-term rental, as much as I've followed this over the last several years, the trend seems to show, the market was pretty saturated with a boom in short-term rentals, and quite a few of those have dissipated. We have many less than there were, say, 3 years ago. So many of those have either sold or gone to, long-term rental. So, when we had I don't know the number, but I'm going to throw out 150, 2-3 years ago, now we're in the ballpark of 7. So it's not as much of an issue as it has been. But to the point about the investment and the increase in value and the increase and the expected increase in the tax revenue, that's not necessarily accurate. Because see, when all of that comes into play, yes, you take a lower valued home, you invest, money into it, it increases the value of that home by which it's taxed, but it also it has an effect by increasing neighborhood values as well, which we've seen take place over the last few years, through the tax and real estate market both. Now, as those values all rise, the mill rate against which those property values are taxed comes down. So at the end of the equation, the revenue is comparable to where it was in the beginning. So it's all kind of a ratio that ebbs and flows and in the end evens out to be pretty well the same. So it's not, these investments, these properties and the investments that are made within them or to them don't necessarily increase the amount of tax revenue that the town gains. And so we have, a code enforcement office that is stronger in performing more than at least the last 40 years easily, and has a more than full workload. And now, with the expectation in this ordinance, we're taking that more than full workload and we're adding, however many inspections to register these properties at, between 1 and 3 hours a piece. If all 70 something of those properties register and go through that process, that's a lot of time and effort. And, these registration fees, which are, even at Councilor Higgins' suggestion, are lower than many other locations where these ordinances are in place, helps to offset the cost of providing that service. And the cost for running that office. So it's really not like we're making any money. The main goal is to make sure that people are staying in safe places that meet the code, that meet life safety code, and that we have the proper contact information for the owner or the site manager in the case of an emergency, because they have certainly run into that time and time again over the last few, not being able to contact the proper person. I didn't plan on speaking that long, but it happened.
No, I actually thank you for that explanation, because it's a similar explanation to the condensed version that I gave.
Sure.
And I'm sure the public appreciated at least hearing that, whether they agree or disagree, at least they know the train of thought that y'all are in. So I thank you.
Mr. Malcolm, did you want to respond at all? Are you good? Okay, thank you. Councilor Pelletier, did you still want to make a comment?
Yeah, relationship to the increased value of these properties, a lot of them, they're single, they're not cut up to be short-term rental, one building. There are single homes that haven't been really brought to code, let's say. So changes why are there because of safety for their commercial use. Granted, that might make it more valuable on the market, but it's not going to change its value on the roll call. So, same building, same size, just things that weren't up to safety standards would have been correct. So, and I totally agree with the fee structure Councilor Higgins has proposed. That initial inspection is quite detailed, all these pages, and the renewal
those won't have to be checked, you know, they'll be done. So I think it's a good plan to have it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council want to, before I go to the public? So I will go to the public now. And I just remind people on Zoom, if you do want to speak, we have to see your face and we have to see your name. And I can see Sandy Sullivan, you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a question and a comment.
Can you state your address, please?
Yep, Sandy Sullivan, 104 Sunset Drive. If people are making improvements to their home in order to make them short-term rentals, they are also improving the value of those homes. They are the only ones that are going to reap that benefit when they sell it. And so I don't think that improvements being made to that home should be taken into consideration at all. And the question I have, Mr. Higgins had suggested a change in cost. I don't have this ordinance in front of me. And so I'm not sure if it lists it all, but is there a big difference between inspecting these homes and getting them licensed the first time as opposed to when people want to renew that? If there is a difference, then absolutely there should be a difference in the cost the first time. Thank you.
Mr. Manager, would you like to answer?
Sure. So yes, the initial registration and inspection is quite detailed and in-depth and, you know, consumes a fair amount of time. The renewal is, you know, is so long as it's, you know, the same owner, you know, it hasn't sold, you know, that sort of thing. It's just like any other business license renewal within the town, you know, businesses have to renew licenses and victualers licenses and entertainment licenses, that sort of thing. Airbnbs are businesses. The norm is to register the business and then pay those licensing fees to the municipality in which they operate. So what is being proposed is an initial fee which helps offset the cost of doing an immense amount of additional work, and then a much lower renewal fee annually there on out. Is that helpful, Ms. Sullivan?
That is helpful, and which reinforces my thought that there should then be a difference in price. If the initial inspection is going to take a lot more time, a lot more effort, and the renewal is nothing more than getting it back to the council every year, yes, it should be cost more. Thank you.
That person, I can't quite see
I
it.
can-
Stephanie, I believe is her name.
Yes, that's me, Stephanie Sinclair.
Please state your address, Stephanie.
96 Aroostook.
Thank you.
So, couple of things I have. First, what I want to know is, do you have 11-page inspection and so forth for long-term rentals? Are you doing this fair and equitably to not only short-term but versus long-term? Will the long-term rentals also have a inspection fee that opposed to them, assessed to them, as well as having, 11 pages of, inspection details that they're gonna have to go through.
Manager?
No, we do not require
Okay.
that. for
So-
long-term
so-
rental.
I'm just gonna put this out there because you do not, it's not fair and equitable to all rentals. You're actually discriminating against short-term rentals by having this in place as opposed to not having this in place for long-term. It should be safe for long-term as well as short-term. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this, but I'm saying it needs to be fair and equitable because otherwise you're opening yourself to litigation. So that's my first comment to you. Second of all, in the state of Massachusetts where I live, we don't pay a fee to have a short term. We do fill out an application with the state of Massachusetts. We do have to have a certain amount of short-term rental insurance coverage like you have proposed. I read through your whole entire proposal. There's no inspection that comes into my home. I do short-term rental here in my own home. They don't come in and inspect my wiring, my fuel tank, my electrical panel. They don't do those things. You're very invasive with this inspection process. I'm not saying that the house shouldn't be safe, but I'm just saying everything needs to be on the same playing field when it comes to rentals, short and long term. I think that your $250 fee upfront is pretty high right out of the gate. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a difference, but I think you need to be a little bit more fair to us. We are also providing rentals for events like the Millinocket marathons and so forth that bring in over 3,000 to 5,000 people. And where would you house all these people if we didn't open up our homes to them? They wouldn't have anywhere to stay, you know? So we need to think about these things when you're putting something like this into place.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Can't tell.
That's still step, and that's not.
Mr.
Chuck,
Mr.
Aye.
Pringle?
Yes, Chuck Pringle, one Colony Place in Millinocket. First of all, having heard Stephanie's comments, I would tend to agree. I posted in the comments on the side, but I'll go ahead and express them via the audio. I would be curious to know exactly what the fees are for comparable towns and cities within the state of Maine. Since that hasn't been discussed or provided, because it might make a difference if we're talking Millinocket versus Portland or Millinocket versus Bangor, maybe. So I would be interested in knowing what other towns' fee structure is, not just say that it's comparable to other towns without knowing what are the other towns charging if this extensive research has been ongoing for a few years now. I would also tend to agree, having had an Airbnb in North Carolina before moving here, with something that Stephanie brought up. I believe she mentioned it, regarding the type of inspection needed for a short-term rental. If you have a rental on, and I'm using Airbnb or VRBO as the case may be, they already require or actually provide some level of insurance. And there are certain requirements in order to just even list your property on those platforms. So when I originally saw the draft inspection, I would also tend to agree with Stephanie and possibly others that the inspection list seemed a little over the top for what may be needed. Now, it seems like a year or two ago, after moving up here, during a town council meeting, and don't quote me on this, on when the meeting occurred, but there was a discussion which seemed very appropriate to do things like make sure there's smoke and or carbon monoxide detectors and fire extinguishers. Those really need to be in a short-term rental. And I would applaud the fire department to come in and do that type of quick assessment to make sure that there's fire extinguishers and detectors and egress to go in and out of the appropriate property. But anything beyond that, I think would be a little cumbersome, and that might be driving possibly the reason for spending 3 hours on an inspection for one property. Seems kind of high, but maybe it won't take 3 hours, but just on the outset, it seems kind of high, and that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you for your comments. I can say hand raise, I
It's,
can't.
Laura Lee Sinclair Estabrook.
Laura Lee,
Hi, thank you. My property is 54 Katahdin Avenue. I just wanted to make a little comment on, Mr. Higgins was talking about how he has used short-term rental properties himself and that he mentioned that we were making a good amount of money. And I just want you to know, I've been doing this for 3 years and I have a lot of money into my house and I have not made a profit in the last 3 years. We, as you guys know, Millinocket is very seasonal. So we only have a few months of busy season. So we aren't making huge profits. I'm making enough just to keep the house going, which I'm doing because I love it there. And it's how I'm able to afford to have the house so that I can visit Millinocket. But we're not making a fortune.
thank you for your
That's my-
comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan Robbins.
Yeah, Ryan Robbins, you're next. Give
Yeah,
us your address, please.
all right. I'm the owner of 127, 129, and 133 Oxford Street in Millinocket. Just to enumerate Chuck's concerns, if you list your property for a short-term rental on Airbnb, you have to have life safety codes already implemented in each one of those. You have to have fire extinguishers, you have to have smoke detectors, CO2 detectors, you gotta have egress. There's all kinds of rules that you have to have in order to even list your property on Airbnb. So that shouldn't be a concern if you're listing your properties on there. The things that I have a concern with is the price of the inspection. And then some of the other things that were listed in the code. I don't have it in front of me, but I did go online and read it. There are certain things, like, I'd just like to ask any of you counselors up there, how many of you guys have a power strip in your house that you have things plugged into? Just one?
Oh, no,
Oh, yeah.
well, I'm not a counselor, but I do have plenty myself.
Yeah,
I see that, and, you know, and I understand where you're going with that.
So in
But
the
the
code,
difference is that, you know, a power strip is totally fine and acceptable to use long-term. An extension cord, you know, technically you're supposed to use for less than a 30-day period, but power strips, like surge protectors, those sorts of things are totally acceptable for a long-term.
okay. Well, because I've gone through and I've read all 780 something pages of the Millinocket code book. And how about any of the council members up there sitting on the council member, including the town manager, anybody in the room there, have they ever dumped hot water down their drain, boiling hot water down their drain?
Oh, absolutely. I've also thrown
Especially after big
snowballs, and that is illegal given our
Mhm.
code.
Well, did you know that the Millinocket town has a code that you can't dump water over 150 degrees down your sewer?
So,
Yes, I have seen that.
Yeah.
Only after big.
So, Mr. Robbins,
I'm
do you
just-
have
I'm
any
just-
other questions related to this ordinance?
Well, I'm just giving examples of how some of these things that are in this code are kind of foolish. Because there's other stuff that the town has codes on that they don't even follow.
It's perfectly valid.
It is, yes.
You know, there are a lot of things in
Yeah,
that code
can't-
book that are really
And
irrelevant
then
this day and
to,
age.
just to make another statement, if about the fees and how much this is gonna cost and everything, the town, because of their time and everything. If the town wouldn't have took any stance, there wouldn't be no cost. My first rental of my Airbnb was December 29th, 2016. So I've been doing this for a long time in the town of Millinocket. And I have never had one person from the town approach me on my opinions or what I think the town should do about the short-term rentals in Millinocket. I think they should have reached out to some of the homeowners in Millinocket that do this to see what their concerns were and approach it in that manner. I don't believe, I've never been approached, I've never been asked,
Yeah,
and I've been to all of the planning board meetings when this first started. This first started because there was somebody up on Highland Avenue that was giving the town a hard time because they were plowing snow across the street. And they couldn't get a hold of this guy because this guy lived in Europe. This is where this all started.
Mr. Robbins, I will just state that there were several meetings that were open to the public and were publicized, and all were welcome to attend. They weren't closed door meetings, so I apologize if you weren't aware of them, and I appreciate that you're here now to give us your feedback. We're all listening. We're not voting today. We're listening for public feedback, exactly what's happening. Thank you for your participation.
You know, sorry to jump in here,
Okay.
but you know, I think, you know, Ryan has been more involved than most, I would say, in this process. You know, no, we don't reach out directly to people to get individual feedback. That's why we do post and advertise these public meetings, which, you know, you've attended every one I've been present at. So, you know, I know that you've been very involved along the way and you've spoke many times, and your, you know, your concerns have certainly been heard by, I think, our elected officials, you know, certainly. So we do appreciate your participation.
Yeah, I'm not seeing whose hand's up next.
That
Stephanie.
is
I'm sorry,
Nick.
Stephanie?
quite far away for me to see. but
Yeah.
Yes, Stephanie. Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to comment. I mean, on his of getting notification regarding the short-term rental process or this whole thing that you were drafting up. I get texts, I get the emails. I haven't received any notification that you were going to be drafting up such a substantial, you know, document. Otherwise, I would have been participating in it. And I think that's where his point was. I think if the short-term rental people or even the tax-paying population, I don't know how you made notices, but I certainly didn't get one. And I'm pretty certain several people attending this meeting didn't get notices until my property manager, who lives in East Millinocket, sent me this document.
I appreciate your comment, and I think that leads to the reason why we are doing this. There is no formal list of those folks that have short-term rentals for us to refer to, other than going online and, Googling sort of things. So that's part of the reason we're taking some of this action.
Well,
I appreciate
maybe,
that you're here.
yeah,
ha-
maybe you should ask for a registration. I mean, that's part of the issue. So I know like a, basically before going ahead with this, you can have a kind of interim registration where you know who's short-term rentals and who isn't. You could send out a notice in our tax bills or via text message, via email, because I'm pretty sure most people subscribe to all this.
Yes, no, it was, this topic has not been in public discussion for quite some time. It was, sitting on the desk of our attorney for, most of the last year and a half, I would say. There were quite a few meetings up until then. When it comes to these public notices, they are certainly advertised. We're required by law to put them in a local newsprint, which is, obviously not a lot of folks are going to see that.
Right.
But, it's been announced, through the website and available for, weeks prior to this.
Yeah,
and
I got it.
much
weeks
like
prior.
any other, council meeting agenda or item for business, it is included and linked in all of those emails that do get sent out. So
Right.
no, there's not a specific one for an individual topic, but all of those, engage, participate, pay attention, that sort of message that goes out, usually contains links to the council page where, the information to back up that message is available, which has
So-
been for several weeks.
Do you plan on speaking with your town attorney regarding the legality versus short-term rentals being overseen by the town and long-term rentals not being overseen by the town? Because I would highly suggest that. I would highly suggest you talk to him about, like, is that legal that you can put such specific requests in place for us, but not have them in place for the long-term rentals?
Thank you for sharing that opinion.
Madam Chair,
Councilor Dume?
two things, but one, I would like to ask code enforcement officer, are there state statutes that's already in place that are mandatory by the state of Maine that follow, so that legalities are already hammered out, short-term versus long-term, or is that something that you're aware of? Got to answer the ongoing question.
No, there's nothing in state statute. They have, Maine Municipal and the state of Maine have all been talking about short-term rental for quite a while. And the state's gonna come out with something, they've been playing around, but, no, there's no statute.
Thank you. And if I may, Madam Chair, address something, and I know this is off the current topic, but it was back when Sandy Sullivan spoke. I wanted to clarify reference taxation point, and it was that her statement was, you're saying, and if you're still there, my point was that when you increase the value of the property, then your tax evaluation would go up, bringing more tax to the tax rolls of Millinocket. So if you turn a $50,000 structure into a $100,000 structure, those are gonna go to the tax rolls as opposed to, I think what you're referring to would be the resale value of the home that would be going to the property owner. And I would agree with you on that point, but if you turn a $50,000 home into a $200,000 multi-unit rental, then that property brings more valuation. So the manager had a different equation, but that was just my take. I hope that clarifies my point versus what what you said.
Okay, we're gonna wrap, we've, excuse me, Mr. Pringle, do you have a new comment or question that hasn't been
Yes, I
covered
do.
yet?
Yes, may I?
You may.
Chuck Pringle, One Colony Place, in reference to one of the comments made about the publicity of the short-term rentals. I re-forwarded back to the town council and the town manager, which this is a parallel issue, that if you look at the public notice page for the town, it hasn't been updated in 2 years. This public notice for this particular item is not on that page. It's listed somewhere else. And the public notice page, along with several other pages, have not been updated in 2 to 3 years. So I would like to request that the town use, if we're paying our tax money to supplement.
Mr. Pringle, we got your email and we're working on it, so I appreciate your comment on that. Let's get back to this ordinance.
Okay, I'm just referring to the other comment made by a resident or a property owner, that if it actually hasn't been published well because it is not listed on the public notices page, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you for your opinion.
It's not an opinion,
Yeah.
it's fact.
Thank you for your comment. I'm gonna go to Councilor Higgins. Come back to
Yes,
the-
thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. The question was asking what are some of the other towns and cities that are charging and what they're charging? I know that was asked before. Bar Harbor charges $250. Old Orchard Beach charges $500 annually. Cape Elizabeth, $500. Rockland, $500. Kennebunk, $250. Falmouth, $300. Bangor, $250.
Thank you for sharing that data.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other council comment? I know Councilor Bragdon couldn't be here tonight, but he did ask me just when we do finalize the document on page 3, that when we do decide on the fee, that we include the initial license fee as well as the annual fee. So we'll have some clarifying verbiage on page 3 under the fee schedule. One more, back to the public, one more time. Is this a new comment? Question, I'm sorry, I can't see your name from here.
That is Stephanie.
It's Stephanie. My comment being that when considering the town fee, you need to also consider, you're comparing it to Bar Harbor, very high rental. We don't get the type of rental that those areas get. We don't bring in the same type of revenue that they get. So we don't make the money to afford to pay those exorbitant fees. And I really feel like when making this fee assessment, you need to consider that because we're not making those types of incomes.
Thank you for your comment. Celeste, I see your hand up.
Hi, can you hear me? I wasn't
We
sure, I
can.
couldn't. Hi, Celeste Bard, 18 to 32 Balsam Drive. We have a commercial building that we've done 1 to 2 units Airbnb for probably at least the last 5 years. I missed the early part of the meeting, but I just wanted to clarify a few things from what I've heard. So there's essentially there's actually 3 categories of rentals. There's short-term rentals. There's something that's actually midterm rentals. So the short-term rentals are 30 days and under. Midterm rentals, and obviously short-term rentals are furnished and, there's towels and sheets and everything is provided. People bring their own food. Midterm rentals, if you think like traveling nurses, that kind of thing, it's usually a minimum of 30 days and it can be, anywhere from 3 months to 6 months. It can turn into 10 months or something longer. But again, it's furnished. People might bring their own towels, but, and it would be less than a short-term rental, but certainly people are getting more rent than long-term rentals because you're providing furniture. So there's actually 3 categories. And then there's long-term rentals, and long-term rentals, obviously you don't have the turnover. So the first 2 categories, so I've both stayed in short-term rentals, and we've rented both short-term rentals and mid-term rentals. And in our 8-unit commercial building, in the last 2 years, we saw our 2 short-term rentals make as much money as in 6 months or even 5 months as our other 6 units combined. Maybe not as much, but certainly significantly more income than our commercial units. So, and I didn't see can you just remind me of what you're charging? Because, our rentals go for maybe anywhere from like, they're small, just 1 bedrooms. They go from $85 a night to maybe, 100 and something. Obviously the weekend of the marathon, the fees are up there, quite a lot more. But I feel like I'd like to strike a balance and support the town covering some of their costs, because honestly, if we can charge $90 a night or whatever, obviously we're making a lot more money than if we were charging $750 a month rent for a long-term rental. So I feel like, the town is trying to strike this balance where, there's a housing shortage. And I think anyone, as somebody who has short-term rentals, I also try to be sensitive. We also try to be sensitive to the fact that this is having an impact on the community. And there's only so many short-term and mid-term rentals that any community as small as Millinocket can have before there's not enough housing for people to either buy houses or rent apartments or whatever. And I think that's the reality. It's like we've seen homelessness explode, in over the last 10 years as these short-term and mid-term rentals have, emerged to become very widespread. So I think we need to acknowledge that. What I wanted to clarify, Mr. Robbins says that we have to have fire safety, you have to have a fire extinguisher, you have to have carbon monoxide detectors. I'd like to just clarify that have to have is just clicking a button to say you have it. It's not anyone coming in to check it. Certainly Airbnb has never come in to check any of our units. They have no proof that we've done any of those things, that any of these places are safe. And essentially where it's becoming a little bit challenging is that these are essentially businesses. Even if it's in your home, it's a business, you're paying tax on it. The government recognizes that it's a business, you're doing it as a business. And so, you're running a business in your home, and yes, any landlord needs to have these safety measures in place. But I think that's where it's getting a little bit confusing in, have to have is just Airbnb saying, do you have a fire extinguisher? You click a button and say yes. Nobody comes in and checks it. So anyway, that's my comment. I think I would just like to propose, being fair to the town of Millinocket, which has struggled. And if we as business owners, doing Airbnb in this community are benefiting from it, I think it's just like we can strike a balance. That's what I would like to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, Celeste. Mr. Robinson, last comment. As we wrap this up, you have something new?
I'd just like to reiterate what he said. She made a comment to me. You don't become a super host on Airbnb without those things, because your guests report back to Airbnb these things. So it's not just a click of the button. And I've been doing this since 2016, and I've been a super host ever since then. So you don't just get that way from saying that you have these things. Your guests are the ones that report back and tell them that they have that. Because if you if they don't, then you don't get more rentals.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Robbins. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. Appreciate all the comments. We're gonna come back to the public here. Thank you. Come up to those on Zoom. I forgot about the people in the room. Please come. Do you have public comment in the room? Nope. Triple arrow. Sorry. Yes, we'll bring it back to the,
That's fine. Real Mass Ave market. My first question for you, I might not answer, but how much extra revenue the town make in tax?
It's irrelevant to this conversation,
Well-
but I think what you were,
More questions to go along with it?
sure, and I was starting to respond either way.
I guess I'm gonna
The increase
Google
in
Map,
when,
Cause I
Hold
can
on.
count all the houses in town.
hold on, the manager is responding.
quite literally trying to answer your question
Please.
right now,
Okay.
sir. The entirety of the increase in our taxes, you and I both,
No, it's our money. Our money, not your money, our money.
well, I pay
When you
taxes
spend
on
the money
multiple
in the
properties
town,
too, sir.
It's the people,
Right, and I'm also a taxpayer
okay.
on several properties. So what I'm saying is our overall increase in taxes was due to a $658,000 increase in the school's budget.
Okay.
The
But you-
town per se,
How much extra are we getting just for the,
absolutely zero.
okay,
It, that entirely went to the operation of the school system and, needed repairs there.
okay.
Two
now,
separate
Do you,
budgets.
do you feel as though that you're spending money kind of foolishly?
So let's
No.
bring it back to the,
What about 30,000?
excuse me, let's stop this conversation. We're gonna, if you have a question about the ordinance, so-
Here's a good question. Okay. You got a fish farm going in over.
okay, if you have a question about the short-term rental ordinance at
Well,
this
that-
point, yes,
I
that's,
think they should be charged.
okay, thank
because
you.
of the increase in taxes that we.
Thank you for your comment on the
Now,
ordinance.
now,
That,
Talk about the fish farm?
no, not at this time. At the end,
It's a special hearing
Well,
directly
Yeah,
related.
it would-
Just concerned
it would be a, excuse me,
the aqua farm down on the
excuse me.
It's entirely different topic,
Yeah.
sir.
At the end of our meeting during public comment would be a time for you to make public comment.
Appropriate.
Good enough.
Yes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tony Polaro, 212 Cottage. I'll be brief.
Thank you.
I truly am grateful and pleased the town is dealing with the short-term rental issue. Came before the planning board years ago. It's been a while since it's got to this point. I won't be specific on anything. I know comments were made about town charging a certain fee to inspect these properties. I don't want to get into it too deep. I don't think short-term rentals are regulated by the state at all. Someone can correct me, they know better. If that's not the case, that they're not regulating these, then I think it behooves the town to do something, and the cost of doing that falls on this community. So we should be charging an appropriate fee so that the town is not subsidizing someone trying to go into business. Leave it at that. Thank you for taking up the subject and giving it the
Yeah.
amount of attention it needs.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Flaro. Yeah. All right. So here ends our first reading of ordinance number 1/2025. We are out of public hearing. Mr. Manager, time for your report.
My report is very detailed and lengthy, including much of what is happening in my office and all other departments of the town. I do want to bring up a few things, but I will not go into lengthy detail given the amount of time we're spending this evening. But I do thoroughly encourage anyone and everyone to visit the manager's page at millinocket.org, where we have a posted archive of each and every report that has been submitted by me since my first council meeting in 2022. These are very detailed and very, very in-depth reports. The phone and internet upgrade service, which will fix a lot of these connection and audio issues that we face every time we meet. That is well on its way. Several properties have been connected to the fiber line now. We had a visit with a couple of their installation and planning technicians just last week, and they will be referring back to their engineers to complete the rest of the fiber build out for our phone and internet upgrade. The new the grant funded windows for the entire remainder of the municipal building begin installation on Monday. That will take 2 to 3 weeks to work through the entire building. We're incredibly excited to see that come to fruition after all the work that's gone towards that. We are well into our budget work now for FY26. There will be plenty of workshops and public hearings scheduled and advertised. We certainly encourage the public to attend those meetings to stay informed. And one thing I didn't include, but I would like to address is those who are following along. We have been, Community Initiatives Director and I have been, as you know, working with the Maine Department of Transportation on a village partnership initiative is what the VPI acronym stands for. And, that is to address a complete reconstruction for our downtown corridor, light sidewalks, all of that at 10% of the total cost. The Maine DOT will be picking up the 90% tab on that. So that has been in the works for quite some time now. We are at a stage where we check in middle of next week with the DOT, approve some engineering and design bids, or an RFP for that to be dispersed. So we will soon be moving into the engineering and design phase of that, which gets us closer to the construction work happening. So we're a little over a year into what is expected to be a 4 to 5 year process for a complete reconstruction of our sidewalks and infrastructure in our downtown corridor, which we know has been neglected and deteriorating for nearly 40 years. So this is an incredible opportunity, and we are finally really cooking with gas now, and we'll be jumping through the next phases. There are there's an incredible amount of really positive information and detailed reports included here, representing all departments of the town, as well as the Shared Service Rec Department, the East Millinocket Police Department, and the Millinocket Memorial Library's monthly update. A reminder, they will be back at our second meeting in February to give their quarterly update. One fun piece of information that I would like to run over real quick is kudos to the code enforcement office for bringing that work to life that has been stagnant and really non-functional for 30 years. We have, through communication and encouragement and education, the community is now really respectfully and responsibly starting to dive more and more into the proper permitting process on things. Over the last, so I had included a code enforcement permit summary and for calendar year 2024. And we are at a total of 236 permits issued, either physically by paper in person or people taking the convenient approach by using our online permitting portal that was introduced over the last year or so. This has that would be compared to, I would guess 20 or less over the last couple of years and practically zero for the 3 prior decades. So kudos to that office, kudos to the communication and education folks, and certainly to Mr. Malcolm for the really dedicated work that he does on behalf of Down Through Code and life and health safety. I'll take any questions, and I'm happy to talk more about anything specific in the report if the council wishes.
Council comment. Councilor Dume.
Thank you for it. Thank you, Peter. You kind of stole the one topic I was going to address. I think, Tom, this is the first time I've ever seen a code enforcement report with all the permitting. But I think this condensed version, I think it's very easy to read. Congratulations. I think you're doing a great job. And report. How often are you going to have in front of us like this? Going to be like a monthly thing, a quarterly thing, going forward?
We can do it as often as we'd like.
I think it's really easy to look at. It's a really good tool to have for us to.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly, I think Tom can probably keep a steady tally, and we can include it as we do.
That's just
everything else
that he's running. It's just a report that you have to. Awesome. Yeah. I think it's really good. Thank you.
Yeah, we're just trying to, we're constantly trying to improve the information and the quality of it that we share with the town and with the council regularly.
Any other council comment? Manager's report? I have one comment, and I was very happy to see under the transfer station that now we can drop off for recycling newsprint, magazine, and paperboard, such as cereal boxes. That's something new. It looks like you found a market for that. So I hope we can get the word out there and promote our community members to start dropping those off at the transfer station instead of just putting them in the hopper. Thank you.
Madam Chair, when do we have to purchase dumpsters?
Now.
Don't steal my thunder,
Yeah,
if I
go
may,
ahead.
Madam Chair.
Yes, please. Madam Clerk.
A couple topics I just wanted to highlight out of the Department of Collector and Clerk, just because it's by the end of month of January.
Yes.
That the transfer site permits that are available their $20 fee for Millinocket and contracted county residents of Penobscot and Piscataqua. Again, let me emphasize contracted, the town of Millinocket. Also, dog license by the end of the month for the mandated state $25. And taxes are due for personal property. So just wanted to address those items because I know this month has flown by since the holidays. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any public comment on the manager's report? Seeing none, we will move on. Councilor Dume, can I have you read order number 12-2025?
Madam Chair. Order number 12-2025, providing for the execution of town warrant for January 23rd, 2025, and is ordered that the town warrant for January 23rd, 2025, in the amount of $189,224.10 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Dume, seconded by Councilor McLaughlin. Do you have heavy hitters to mention?
Yes, ma'am. $300,000, that's for the Lincoln's Fire and Rescue, that's for the down payment of our fire truck. $14,866.82, that's for Oil Tanner and Associates, that's for the airport project runway. $42,760.10, that's for Maine Water Company, public fire hydrant. $1,109.83, that's for waste solutions, that's for waste. $1,844.24, that's for New England Salt Company for Public Works bulk salt. $2,260.25, that's for Nicholas Blatt. So the servicing of the blower at the airport. $4,450.21, that's from Roll Company, Municipal Oil. And last one is $6,196.95. That is Versant Power, that's obvious for the electricity.
Thank you. Any council comment on this order? Any public comment on this order? Seeing none, back to the council for a vote. Councilor Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Yeah. Councilor Mackin? Aye. Councilor Pelletier?
Aye.
Councilor Dume?
Aye.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Aye.
And Chair Danforth, aye. Motion passes 6-0. Councilor Pelletier, can I have you read order number 13?
Gladly. Order number 13-2025, providing for execution of the wastewater warrant for January 23rd, 2025. It is ordered that the wastewater warrant for January 23rd, 2025, in the amount of $40,060.34 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Pelletier, seconded by Councilor McLaughlin. Anything notable to share with us?
Sure, there's a couple, $21,128.40. Down in Millinocket, that's reimbursed for admin to the transfer site. No, not wastewater system, sorry. $14,946.43 versus our wastewater collected.
Any council comment on this order? Any public? Seeing none, back to the council for a vote. Councilor Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Mackin?
Aye.
Councilor Dume?
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier?
Aye.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Aye.
And Chair Danforth? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Councilor Higgins, can I have you read order number 14-2025?
Yes, Madam Chair. Order number 14, 2025, providing for approval of the application for reappointment to the Board of Appeals. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves the reappointment of Richard Angotti to the Board of Appeals for a 3-year term to expire March 2028. Note, Angotti's term expires 3/2025, and his application was received on 1/17/2025. If approved, the board has one full seat available for full commitment. C11 vacant.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Higgins, seconded by Counselor Pelletier. Any council comment on this order? Any public comment on this order? Seeing none, back to the council for a vote. Counselor Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Counselor Mackin? Aye. Counselor Dume?
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier?
Aye.
And Counselor McGlaughlin?
Aye.
And Chair Danforth, aye. Motion passes 6-0. Counselor Mackin, can I have you read order number 15-2025?
Order number 15-20-25, item for expense coding adjustment within FY 24 fire department budget. It is ordered that the Multnomah Council approve the following FY 24 budget adjustment. Look. We are allocating expenses totaling $1,101.44 from budget line 020-008. Budget line 020-086 Main Forest Service. Whitbear Public Safety, $431. And Whittemore Public Safety, $450. And Whittemore Public Safety, $107.48.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Mackin, seconded by Counselor Dume. Any council comment on this order? Any public comment on this order? Seeing none, we'll take it back to the council for a vote. Counselor McGlaughlin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Counselor Dume, how do you vote? Counselor Mackin?
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Counselor. I got to sequence. Counselor Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Ed. Counselor Danforth, aye. Motion passes 6-0. Counselor McGlaughlin, can I have you read order number 16-2025?
Certainly. Order number 16-2025, providing for acceptance of Maine Forest Service Volunteer Fire Assistance Grant. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council accept this grant totaling $1,237, the Maine Forest Service Volunteer Fire Assistance Grant Program, with an equal share of local matching funds to be allocated from the following budget line: 0203-2008 tools and equipment replacement, 0205-22. Note, funds will provide the following equipment for our fire department: 1 electric chainsaw, 2 backpack tanks, 2 chainsaw hard hats with ear and face protection, 2 chainsaw chaps, 10 woolen fire helmets, 2 lengths of forestry 3/4 GHP 50-foot hose, 10 pairs of wildland fire goggles, and 20 pairs of wildland.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor McGlaughlin, seconded by Counselor Higgins. Council comment on this order? I will just say congratulations again for getting another grant and for your department and for these materials. Public comment on this order? Seeing none, we'll take it back to the council for a vote. Counselor Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Counselor Mackin?
Aye.
Counselor Dume?
Aye.
Counselor McGlaughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier?
Aye.
And Chair Danforth, aye. Passes 6-0. Reports and communications. We're down to warrant committee for February 13th. Council meeting will be Chair Danforth, that's me, and Counselor Dume. You okay with that? All right. Yeah. Chair, there's yeah, you can check with if he'll swap with you. There's no, I don't have an age-friendly committee report, so that does take us into an opportunity for 2-minute public comment. If we have somebody from the public that wants to make a comment, come up to the podium, state your name and address. Remember, this is a comment time. It's not a debate time. You may have a question that we will answer if we can without going into debate. Otherwise, we will meet with you outside of this time or get a response to you at another time.
Dennis Martin.
Den-
Sorry for my last. Been a long time since I've been with town council meeting.
Apology accepted, Mr. Martin.
I am concerned about the fish farm. Did the town draw up anything for fish farm, put full responsibility to them?
So-
if they-
You can share your concerns. It's not going to be a debate or question, answer. So
It is. Because I'm looking at what's happening down in Bucksport. Watching it, but the farm out there, bid ocean. And then Bucksport put
So
a
this-
suit against that fish farm, and now that Bucksport fish farm is gone. I just don't wanna see the taxpayers of the town
Yes.
get hit with all kinds of lawyer fees and everything else, trying to fight that they didn't clean the river. Because right now, when I understand, they're pumping out the lagoon. Where's it going?
I
So,
will respond. to
yes,
this if
please,
you don't mind.
please, Mr. Manager.
So,
Any
you have
ideas?
two,
Please.
you have two questions.
Yeah.
One is what is happening with the current sludge that is being removed from the lagoons?
Right.
Yes. The sludge that is currently located in the lagoons that is being removed is actually being moved from the three larger lagoons into the smaller lagoon and then capped, much like a land.
They're gonna cap that off?
We are not, no, that is
No, they
not,
are.
they are,
Yeah.
yes. So much like a landfill. And, you know, there are huge differences between Katahdin salmon's design and the operation that was out towards the coast. Here, their design is, and mind you, this is not a project of the town of Millinocket, so it just happens to be something that I know about, and I'm happy to share some information. This is a closed loop system, so all of the, almost the entirety of the water that comes into this system is recirculated and cleaned internally with their own technology. Any disbursement to the Penobscot River is just cooling water from the system. It doesn't contain any contaminants and that sort of.
Okay, cause I've been doing research with this, and you had it in the paper back a month. They're gonna discharge in the river 140,000 gallons a day. Is that true?
That it would be a different investment. You know, your questions are much better directed to the economic development team at our Katahdin, who owns and operates that site, and the tenants that wish to establish there.
Okay.
You know, they are a partner of the town, but we are not involved at that level.
Like I said, I'm making, cause I'm not trying to get rid of jobs. I like to have more jobs here in the town of Millinocket.
Yeah.
But
Right. No, that's a state.
Either to our town, own land, or to the company that's putting in the fish farm, which is Santa. I did find that. And that's my concern. If the town is fine with it, and the town doesn't wanna get a lawyer involved to draw up some kind of document that they are 100% responsible, I think they should. I think that's something the town should look in,
So
so that we're affected.
I can guarantee you that the town would never be liable for that in any way. That is a EPA, DEP type situation. that is between, the business developer and their state agencies. We have no responsibility or involvement in that whatsoever. Nothing would ever come back on the town of Millinocket should anything like that happen. However, we, the town of Millinocket, are not that deeply involved with that development. But the team in our Katahdin would be your absolute best bet to raise those concerns to, because they would be able to answer it and speak to it a lot more knowledgeable than myself.
I can,
Sure. And I'm happy to, if you want to stop in sometime, happy to share contact information or make introductions.
one of the other, can I ask another question?
That's up to the
You can,
chairperson. I'm just the administrator. It's her meeting.
you can ask a question. We might have an answer, we might not. Take a shot.
That in the paper, you spent $30,000 addition for community center. It's posted over to one Todd, or I don't even know what they call it anymore. They keep changing the name. Our
But no.
Todd, it's in their window. We paid $30,000. They're putting it in the Epstein building, which is one Todd.
So can I just stop you here?
Yeah, I'm
Conflict of interest, if they do not
so
pay
hold up. Let the
No.
manager respond, please.
None of the things that you just said
Said-
are related in any way.
Yeah.
So the town, yes, received grant funding in the amount of $30,000 to pay for a conceptual design of a community center. That is not paid for by the local taxpayers or citizens any way whatsoever. It's grant funding. And then that actually hasn't been completed or publicized yet. It hasn't been, the final document hasn't been, is not shareable quite yet. It will be soon. What you see at our Katahdin is their own project with their own funding sources and their own separate thing, totally different, which is a revisioning of this property across the street.
But I know the town council, they voted for the community center.
So Mr. Martin, you've got,
We don't need,
yeah, so,
we have 6
Thank-
churches, we have the Elks,
So-
we have the American Legion, we have the Snowmobile Club, we
So-
have Dunkin' Donuts, we have McDonald's.
Can I hold-
Look,
okay. Yeah, Mr. Martin, can I just stop you for just a sec? No, I think, you're sharing some information and some of your concerns. I think it would behoove you to sit down with the manager or meet with one of us at another time outside of this so we can have a conversation, because
that's something-
yeah, there are several different trains of thought that you're going down and I
Right.
think yeah. So questioning, so this is public comment time, and so raise some questions, but we're not going to debate or we're not going to,
No, I don't
we don't have
say that.
answers to all those questions. So yes, thank you. So please make an appointment with the manager and
I will.
Yeah.
My door's open
Yeah.
most of the time. You come in and we can talk
there's.
as long as you want, because I think we're getting into some really, I think to talk fully about that, it would take
Yeah.
a good chunk of
Yeah.
time. But I'm happy to help you sort through a lot of that stuff and explain what I can.
Thank you. And I appreciate, your interest in all goings on in the town. Any other public comment tonight?
Joel Levitt, 330 Congress Street. I was listening to all the comments there. A lot of people don't, it's hard to know what's going on here, but I want to give our town clerk congratulations because she does a good job trying to advertise everything going on. There's a lot of things going on. Goes to the email, she goes to the paper, personal and everything else. But I think she deserves credit for doing that because a lot of people, saying that they couldn't do this, couldn't do that. But it's all out there and I just want to tell Diana as far as town council goes, they should appreciate it too. And just to clarify on short term, just wondering, is this a business or is it outside of business realm.
It is a business.
It is a business, so they're going through everything that goes to business. Or is it just?
Related to
Yeah.
that, related to that sector of business.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
different businesses have different rules and
Okay, thank you.
regulations.
Yeah.
I would like to point out, and I wanted to earlier, but I forgot. And Mr. Levitt's comment reminded me, if any of you pick up your latest edition of the Maine Town and City magazine
Oh.
produced by MMA, had a great feature, following up on the recent election and some of the, most sought after town clerks in the
Oh.
state.
Oh,
And, sharing their expertise and their experiences. And it did feature our, beloved and dedicated town clerk,
very nice.
Miss Diana Lakeman. So please check out that article. It is fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Mr. Manager, and thank you, Mr. Levitt. We love, our town clerk as well. Thank you. Another member of the public wishes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Jesse Dumay, Millinocket, Maine. So I'm thinking in the vein of taxpayers not subsidizing businesses. Kind of important, keep everything fair level. But then I reminded myself that voted for a $6 bond package to help facilitate upcoming projects for the facility coming up. One. So that could be thought of that way. The taxpayer, sitting as a taxpayer, I could think that way. So thinking on a smaller scale, look at the same day. Short term. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Last call, public comments this evening? Yeah, yes, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Council Pelletier, seconded by Council McLaughlin. All those in favor of adjourning at this time. Council Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Mackin? Aye. Council Dume?
Aye.
Council Pelletier? Council McLaughlin?
Aye.
And Chair Danforth? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned.